Good morning, folks. This is Greg Judy from Green Pastures Farm here in central Missouri on a first week in November. And I've been up here taking all this down. This is my water lane. I've got posts stacked up there. I took all the infrastructure down here back to the water tank. So this will be 2 more days. We've got actually a frost-free tank over here. We're over on Doug and Joanna's. This is the bull farm, and so I got 2 more days. I got two paddocks put in over here. Water's at the very bottom of the hill down there, and so the bulls are on long rectangular shaped paddocks today and tomorrow, and then we go back across the creek, and we roughly have about a little over half, close to half of the farm left to graze again on the first pass, which should get us pretty close to the end of November, December, somewhere in there. And then we'll start grazing again, coming back around. Now this is gonna have 60 days rest, but I wanted to show you the infrastructure as far as grass. I guess you might want to call it my savings account. I saved all this. So the bulls got in here on strips that were 40 feet wide by 200 feet long. And there was I think there's 27 bulls in here. And you know, they're gonna average around 800 to 900 pounds. And it's almost 27,000 pounds of livestock. But I had them in here light enough, and my stocking density, you know, I could have gave them 100-foot long strips by 40 feet wide, and they would have cleaned it. They'd have taken all of it. But if I'd have done that, then I wouldn't have had anything to come back around to. And when you take it down that short, especially going into the fall, folks, all you're doing is losing condition on your cattle. They're losing weight. You're pushing them too hard. You know, that total grazing, where you're just taking it all, it's tough on the animals. It's tough on the animals, especially right before winter, unless you're feeding some kind of supplement, which takes money out of your pocket. I'm not gonna do that. The bulls are fat. We left a really nice residual here, and we've got another rotation in front of us this winter. So that's what it's about, is keeping the animals moving. Yeah, there's manure here, but in 60 days, that's gonna be dried up pretty good. The worms aren't gonna eat it, it's too cold. I mean, we've already had, 15 and we've had 20 days of frost every morning. It looks like snow out here. So it's done. The fescue's not gonna grow much, if at all, from here on out, unless we would get 3 weeks of 50 to 70 degree weather and rain, because it's dry. I drove in this morning, and up here on the driveway coming into the bull farm, there was a crack in the ground in the driveway. It was probably 1.5 inches. Yeah, probably 1.5 inches wide. And it was deep. It went down on the ground, you know, a foot or more before you could see it stop cracking. Now, when it starts cracking open your driveway, you know it's dry. But we're really fortunate. They've got a really nice pond back here. It's a lot nicer now that the boys and I came in here and cleaned it. Got all the brush away from it. And the water just looks better. It doesn't have that real dark, dungy look to it. It's getting more oxygen, sunlight to the pond for more hours of the day, which is a good thing. I have been run over by deer this morning. It's nuts. Every time I look up, and you know, I'm a deer hunter, so I'm always kind of looking for that stuff. There was one over there. It didn't even see me a while ago. I was taking up my fence. It was just walking along the edge of that field over there. It never did turn around and look at me. I just don't think it saw me. And then I saw 5 before I crossed the creek. And when I crossed the creek over here, I saw 5 more. That's 10, and this one over here is 11. And then on the farm that's going to be sold into house sites over there, the big farm, there was 2 over there on top of that ridge looking at me this morning. So we need to harvest some of these deer. They're lousy. It's dangerous to drive. You better drive 35, 40 mile an hour out here on our blacktops, because you will wear one of them on your hood. Guarantee you. Well, Ike, our full-time employee, he hit one. And I mean, he was in a little car and it absolutely bent up his hood, and it didn't take him long. He went to a junkyard and got him another one, put the hood back on. You can't hardly tell it now. But look at this forage. Yeah. And yeah, there's some ragweed back here. That's what that brown stuff is. But you know, one more pass through here, we're gonna tighten them up. This will all be consumed and trampled on the ground. So just remember this, folks. There never was, this is ragweed right here. There never was a ragweed born and grew that eventually didn't fall or get trampled on the ground and end up in the belly of an earthworm. So that's all that is, just organic matter. And if we'd have came in here and brush hogged this, we would have had about half of the forage that we've got right now. I mean, you just couldn't have helped it. You'd have knocked most of your fescue on the ground, or at least half of it. And as dry as it is, we wouldn't have grown it back. So just having your pastures a little bit, you know, if you want to use the term unsightly, because it doesn't look as pretty and mowed as your neighbors, just smile and walk to the bank with your money while they're out there mowing that thing off. I see people in big bat wings. There's a guy and he's got it figured out. That's how he keeps his leases. He's mowing these farms off 3 times a summer. He mows them in the spring, right after spring flush, and he takes them down to 2 inches. And he mows them again in July. Then he comes back again in October. Yeah, you heard that right. He mows them all off in October. And this guy's got, oh gosh, I don't know, he's got some big farms. He's probably got 8 or 9, maybe 10 farms. But the landowners just absolutely adore that. They like it looking like a lawn. And the poor guy is feeding hay like you would not believe. I mean, because he mowed off a stockpile. He mowed off a stockpile. But he's got his landowners kind of pacified to that now, where they kind of require him to do that. And he even mowed the hay fields off. Yeah, you heard that right. He went out in October and mowed off his hay fields so they look pretty. That's just asinine. Why in the heck would you mow off a hay field that had already been hayed, came back really nice, 4 to 6 inches of lush green, not a weed in it, and you mowed it off? I'm talking big hay fields. Mowed them off. So it looked like a huge golf course. Oh, I don't know. I just, it almost makes you sick in your stomach to see people doing stupid things like that with super succulent forage just to make it look like a lawn, like somebody's lawn in town. I'm sorry, this is not town. You know, if you want your yard to look nice in town, knock yourself out. If you want to mow that thing every day, I don't care. But out here on the land, when you're trying to grow grass to grow food, it doesn't make any sense to do that. But everybody's different and unique, and that's what makes the world unique. So I'm gonna climb down off my mowing stool now. And yeah, that's why this farm looks like this. But I'm telling you what, I'm gonna get another good graze off of it. It's gonna come around probably in January. It might be a little later than that before we get back here. We'll graze it, and then we'll unroll a strip of hay across it. We'll graze it, we'll unroll a strip of hay on what they were on the day before. Never unroll hay on grass you haven't grazed yet. That's stupid. That's because you just covered up some really good feed with your hay. Unroll the hay on what you've already grazed. There's nothing left behind you to graze, then you can unroll hay on it. You're putting fertility out there. But anyway, I just wanted to show you what we left. There's a ton of feed left out here. It just needs to be cleaned up with some rain and some snow, some cold weather. And when the bulls come back in here, 60 days from now, they're gonna be doing cartwheels. They're gonna think they're on the best piece of grass they've ever seen in their life because it's clean. It doesn't have the smell of urine, feet, and manure on it because nature cleaned it up. Pretty cool how that works, isn't it? I had a tongue twister that I couldn't remember the name of these posts, and they're Terragate. That's a Terragate reel. This is their new design. If you can find them, I've heard people say they're having trouble getting them, but man, I like those little posts. They make several different designs. They got this one, so it's insulated from here down, and then if you grab that post here, you're not gonna get shocked, okay? Because right there's where it's hot right there. I don't like that little plastic foot feed. I've already broken one of those off. They've got one that's got a steel foot on it. I like that steel foot. But anyway, they sent me these. I can't complain about it. They wanted me to try them, and I hope they're watching this video because that plastic foot feed, I'm sure, is cheaper to manufacture, but when you get in hard ground, you're gonna break that off like we did. And our steel ones, they sent me 10 of them. All 10 of them are still intact. But I love these darn things. It's a lot easier to hang your reel here. And like Isaac was saying, because this is all conductive, it's a lot easier to hook your reel into it to make it hot for your individual paddocks. So, I might as well give a plug for O'Brien. They do make the best step-ins in the world. And I am not an O'Brien dealer, and I'm not a Terragate dealer. So I didn't get nothing. So that hater out there that thinks I'm making tens of millions of dollars talking about product, he can go fish. This is an O'Brien post, and I do sharpen them on the end. You can see it, and it's got a point on it, kinda. It's got some dirt on it. Yeah, you can see it's got a pencil point on it. If you don't put that on there, you're gonna break that foot feed off in about 3 years. But anyway, I'm going to yellow. Started out with white. I do not buy white anymore. They may have their uses, but I don't like them. For a couple, that's all I bought starting out, folks. Oh, makes a pretty looking fence. Well, it does, but the white is a lot more conducive to UV. The UV works on them harder and makes them brittle. That's what I have found. The blue, they're pretty darn good. The yellow, outstanding. Now, of course, the yellow are my newest. Some of those yellow posts I've got some that are 4 years old. But look at those. I mean, they show up. You put a yellow post out there in that field and a blue one, this one shows up better. So I'm going all yellow. But when you buy them, folks, just take a second and sharpen the points on them. Get your bench grinder. Put your point on them, and you won't break this off when it's really hot and dry, or if the ground's frozen. You see, they come blunt. You're sticking a blunt piece of steel in the ground, you're putting a lot of stress on this. And I'll tell you what you do, you're gonna crack it right there where my finger is. And the next time you do it, you're gonna snap this whole thing off. And then the post, of course, is ruined. And these are not cheap posts. They are not cheap. There are some lookalikes out there that look a little bit like them. Beware, they are not O'Brien. I'm not gonna give you the name of them, but they're cheap. They're $2, $2.50, and the O'Brien's going to cost you $4.50 to $5. But if they last, 15 to 20 years, the other ones last you half a year, maybe. Which one's cheaper? I can tell you which one's cheaper. The O'Brien, because they don't bend. Those others bend right here. The spike bends at a 45. It'll actually bend out like this. Then you try and straighten it and you snap the darn thing off. And the leads out here that you put your wire on, they snap off like chiclets. They just pop right off. Cold weather, that in a year you're gonna have half your clips missing because they just snapped off. You don't snap off these. They've got it right. O'Brien. You can get them through Powerflex. I think Thomas Fence carries them, and I believe Kincove may carry them. They're just awesome posts. I love them. Folks, this ground's hard. It's hard to even pull them. But see, that post goes right in the ground. Yep, awesome post. Folks, I'm going to get out of here and get the rest of this fence taken up and get ready for the beautiful weekend we have in front of us. I would say we could use some rain, but we don't have any rain for the next 10 days in the forecast, which may work just fine with George coming to pour our concrete. Probably be better if it wasn't raining. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you next time. Hit that subscribe button on the way out.